Hey guys, my name is Amber. Welcome or welcome back to my channel, Amber Reads Romance. Today, I'm just doing a quick introduction for a vlog I want to do. It's a worth the hype vlog, which I plan on doing some of these for books that are really hyped and beloved and you see them everywhere. I usually tend to say I put those off for a long time because I'm afraid they're going to be overhyped, not worth the hype. So one of those series is Boys of Tommen. Everybody talks about this series. It's blown up on Instagram. I see it on Instagram. I see it on BookTube. Everywhere I'm seeing this. I've been intimidated because they're also super thick books. And so like 2 books is just on one couple. And so that's a lot of pages to read on one couple. So I've been kind of nervous, but I've heard so many good things. So I want to try at binding 13 and keeping 13. And then if things go good, I'll continue with the other ones in like maybe a different vlog. Because already this is going to be over like maybe 1,200, 1,300 pages on one couple. And knowing me, I'm going to talk a lot. So I apologize in advance if this is a super long vlog because you never know if I love it or if I end up wanting to rant about it. That does happen on these vlogs. So hopefully you stay and watch the entire thing or check back in, separate it out into segments if it's too long. But I'm excited. I've never read Chloe Walsh and I'm interested to see how these books turn out, if they're going to be worth the hype to me. So I will check back in with you guys once I start reading Binding 13. If you could, please like and subscribe. I've been doing BookTube for almost a year now, and I really appreciate all the support, but I really want to build my channel, so I appreciate anybody subscribing, like and comment to the video, and hopefully you reach the end of this because I do talk a lot. All right, let me stop rambling and we'll get to the first check-in. All right, see you in a bit. Hey guys, so I am just checking in on this vlog. I did start reading Binding 13 this week. Honestly, I have not gotten as far as I wanted to. I decided to listen to this on audiobook, and I've been out all week with a really bad migraine at work. So usually I listen to my audiobook at work or I listen to it like on my drive and stuff. So I haven't got to listen to it as much as I want, and it's been a tough week with my migraine. Honestly, I just got home. It's been a tough day because we had to just go put my mom's dog down and it was really hard. So but I'm still going to do my check-in and not get emotional. So, and the audiobook is actually available on AnyPlay if you are interested. Since this is a long book, some of you may not want to pick it up physically yet. And I listen to audiobook and it's very well done. This is set in Ireland, so they actually have like the Irish accent and it's not too difficult. Like, it's pretty nice. And we have basically the first 40% that I've read. It's like more character driven, setting up the characters of this series, what's going on. There is a lot of like some content warning or trigger warnings for extreme bullying. Our heroine has been badly bullied most of her school life, to the point where she was physically assaulted. She would be throwing up all day at work. Like, they cut off her ponytail. They just made her life hell. And so she finally gets to go to the Tommen school. And she has a couple of her best friends there, but they went to a different school. She kind of went to the more public school. So her mom had to try and get like a loan almost just to be able to get her into the school. And so her mom is like the provider and her father doesn't even work. And he's like this horrible human being. She has an older brother that's very good to her and protective and tries to help out. But, you know, he's older and has his own stuff going on. And then you have, I think she has an even older brother that he was actually gay, and him and his dad got in a huge fight, and he's been gone for like a few years because her dad is like a total homophobic and horrible human being. So just be aware of that. So she has a kind of tough home life, and she's been severely bullied. So she goes into the new school very stressed out, very concerned that it might be the same situation. And things are kind of going good, but she happens to have this accident happen where she left her phone in a bathroom, so she had to run across, and she was running late to school, to her class, and she kind of went through the pitch, or whatever they call it, for rugby, and kind of cut across that to save time, and she ends up accidentally getting hit by the ball by our hero, Johnny. And he is actually like this star rugby player. He's not just a star at the school, he's doing like an academy and hopefully going to get play professionally, and he's very stressed out. He's got a lot of pressure on his shoulders. He has a recent injury that's like totally messed up his groin, so he's out of commission sexually right now, and he has just a lot going on. He ends up kind of throwing a fit, and I think throwing the ball, it accidentally hits her in the head and she falls down, and so he has to like take her to the nurse, and she ends up having, I think, a concussion. And he just feels awful, and he's like immediately drawn to her, and so he can't stop thinking about her, but the mom goes off on him, thinking he's like another bully situation, so he freaks out, and he's told by like the principal and all these people to stay away from her, but he like can't stop thinking about her, and he's not really that guy that's like in a steady relationship. He won't do relationships. He kind of has sex with older girls because he's 1,000,000% focused on rugby and his career, and he doesn't have time for that. So you kind of have them, she comes back to school, and they're just kind of making googly eyes at each other. He's staying away from her like he was told to, and he's just like can't get her out of his mind. And so it's been like a few weeks, and they're kind of staying away from each other. And I love all these side characters, her two best friends, mostly like her main friend. God, I'm forgetting her name. I think it's Claire. And then his best friend, he's like really funny, and he's like really into Claire. And she's like the younger sister of one of their other team members. So I'm really enjoying the characters. It's a really slow build. Like there's really nothing happening between them yet. He invited her to a party, and she kind of freaked out, said she couldn't go. Her dad's pretty psycho, doesn't want her to get home late. And so she kind of had to say no. And he kind of thought she rebuffed him or whatever. So I mean, honestly, there's not a lot going on like with their relationship. It's a very slow, like them just trying to talk to each other even. So it's a very more character driven book, I believe, and that might be why these are longer books. So I'm interested. I'm enjoying it. It's easy to listen to. The audiobook is really well done. And so we'll see how it goes. I'm hoping they'll start to kind of have some more interactions here, more romance going on. But I'm enjoying it so far. So I will check in with you guys once I get a little bit further, and we'll see how it's going. Hey guys, I am just checking in. I'm on my lunch at work today. And I'm about 70% through the book. It's been a really tough week for me with my migraine and just everything going on. My son's going to be moving, and so I haven't been as on top of my reading as I usually am. But I am about 70% through. It is a little bit slow going for me, but I'm still enjoying it. This just feels more character driven. There's not a lot of plot going on. They honestly haven't had much interaction most of this book. It's like kind of like their hidden feelings, what they're going through in their own lives. But there has been some developments where one guy on the team is like not listening, and he's kind of a douchebag. So what ends up happening is she's like leaving the bathroom by herself, and he like corners her and is trying to like come on to her and like go into the bathroom, and she's telling him no, thank you. Like she's trying to get to the bus because she can't miss her bus, and he still is like pressuring her. And so Gypsy, which is Johnny's best friend, happens to see this, and he starts throwing him outside and like locking him out of the school. So she finally exits, and she kind of like runs into Johnny, and her brother can't pick her up. She missed the bus, And so Johnny offers to give her a ride home. They end up like hanging out in his car and talking a lot and having a good conversation. But the conversation churns because he kind of confesses his injury and like what's going on with him. And then he gets paranoid that she'll tell somebody. And so he's like, you can't tell anybody. And he was like a total dick about it. And she's like, she doesn't get what a big rugby player is, that he plays more than just at the school. And so she was like, why would I tell anybody? And she's also kind of throws it in his face that like, you're gonna like hurt yourself worse. If the doctors knew how much pain you were in, they wouldn't be clearing you for playing. So he gets pretty pissy and they kind of leave it in a bad place. And she gets home and her dad like totally comes after her. You know, he also like, I'm trying to remember if this is the same day, but like since she was late and she missed the bus, her dad's like freaking drunk. And there's the newspaper where she happened to be with him after he like won the big championship. I can't remember if it's a championship, but like some big title game that they needed. And they took a picture of him with her. And so he like is on the cover. And so her dad sees it. It's like calling her a slut. He calls her the C word, which I'm just like, what father does that? And he like throws her up and is like strangling her against like the fridge or whatever. And luckily her, and he also hit her across the face with like the newspaper. And luckily her brother comes home and then kind of takes the heat. She's able to leave. And then her brother and him get in a huge physical fight. And so you can see the kind of home life she has and how bad it is. So it's just like, there's like nothing romantic happening between these two. And I'm ready for something to happen already. But I got to get back to work, so I will check in. Hopefully I can finish this today because I'm really dragging on it. But I will check in with you maybe once I finish the book. All right, see you on the next one. Hey guys, so something kind of funny happened. I assumed I was listening to the audiobook of Binding 13 on AnyPlay, and I assumed that I was a certain percentage. I thought I was basically finished the book, and it ended super abruptly. And I was like, this can't be the cliffhanger. This seems weird. And I found out that I was only listening to part 1. So it didn't say part 1 on AnyPlay, but when I checked Binding 13, I found 2 different ones. So I finally found part 2, which is like another 10 hours. So I think I'm only about maybe 50, 60% through, I'm guessing. And I thought I was almost done with the book. So this is a reality check here. I'm actually only maybe halfway through the book here. So I do think that's better, because when I was reading it or listening to it, I was like, nothing is happening. How is this the whole book? So where I kind of left off is things have gotten a lot worse for Shannon at home. Her father is like really badly abusive. She has like multiple bruises on her body. Her mother basically had to get involved in one of their fights to stop it, and she ends up leaving and like just disappears for like the weekend, and the dad kind of left too. And so now you have Joey, her older brother, who's basically like everything's on Joey's shoulders. You have him and Shannon having to take care of like the younger ones and figure out how they're gonna have enough food for the week with Joey's money. So you just really start to see all the shit that Joey has to go through. And like it's all on his shoulders, and then he has to try and protect Shannon at the same time. He had previously ran into Johnny while he was out getting food during like this weekend. Him and his girlfriend Aoife, they were out and they ran into Johnny, who was kind of wasted. He had to deal with this stupid girl that's like obsessed with him, that like kind of just used him for sex. They were never in a relationship. She always just kind of used him, and because of his groin injury, he hasn't been able to have sex with her and kind of just cut things off. And so she started like messing around with another one of his players, and drama happened and all of that. Because he basically told her, like, I don't want anything from you. We're done. Leave me alone. She kind of brought up Shannon, and he's like, stay away from her. So I love him. But so they kind of run into each other. They give him and his friend Gipsy a ride home to his house. So then, like, when they did that, Johnny's phone was left in the backseat of the car. So the next day, they're going to go get food and stuff. Aoife is just the sweetest girl. She, like, bought all this food for Joey and his family so they would actually have food and groceries for the week. So they were going to go out and get something to eat, and they find the phone because they're calling, trying to find it. And so they end up going over to Johnny's house. And so then we have this really cute, so then we have this really cute scene with, Shannon basically kind of going over there with her brother, but then something bad happens where Joey gets a call and he has to go to the hospital. It turns out his mom had a miscarriage and she was at the hospital the whole weekend. So he kind of leaves her there and just asks Johnny to, like, take care of her. And so she kind of spends the day with him. She takes a shower and, like, has to put on his clothes, and his clothes, like, he's like 6'3", 6'4", and she's like maybe 5'2", and his clothes are like falling off of her and stuff. And they just have this really cute, like, interaction where she lets him know it's her birthday, and he was, like, upset that she didn't tell him. And they're eating and then, like, just kind of cuddling on the couch together. She also ended up, when she found out about her mother and the stuff that's going on with her father, she broke down and, like, kind of straddled him and, like, hugged him and just cried on him. And he was just so sweet and attentive. He saw that she had bruises and stuff, and he wants to know what's happening, but she won't tell him. They got put into the system before when their older brother ended up getting raped really badly. And so they don't want to go into the system. And so that's why they never tell the truth about what's going on with their father. So it's just very emotional. If those are triggers for you, just be aware that there is going to be, like, abuse, domestic abuse. Shannon and Joey are getting physically abused by their father. He's a severe alcoholic. And the mother kind of doesn't always stick up for her kids. And so it's just hard to read. But that's kind of, so then it ends where she has to go. Joey comes, gets her, and takes her back home. The father's at home now, and she's, like, scared to go home. And then Joey kind of lets her know, like, I can't do this anymore. I think we need to go to the authorities. I can't live here anymore. I can't do it. And so she breaks down and is like, upset because he's, like, leaving her, and she doesn't want to call the authorities and be put in the system and then maybe get raped. So that's kind of where my audiobook ended, right where she was about to go into the house. And I was like, what the F? Like, that's the end of the first book? But it's not. So I still have 10 more hours of my audiobook to listen to. So I'm really behind in my reading this week, and I need to get on it. It's been a really tough week for me. Okay, I will check in with you guys once I start the second half of that audiobook. All right, see you in a bit. Hey guys, so I am actually on my lunch break at work, and I think I'm about 40% through, I think close to 40% through the second part of the audiobook. I still think it's really freaking hilarious that I thought I finished the book and was like, why did it end so abruptly? And it was the first half of the audiobook. Eeps. Anyways, I'm really enjoying it. It's getting a lot better. I was, like, trying to figure out when I thought it was over for the first audiobook. I was like, how am I going to rate this? There was no romance. I'm an idiot. Anyways, it's getting a lot better. There's a lot more interactions finally happening between Johnny and our heroine, Shannon. Sorry, I just forgot her name. And he's, like, really into her after the whole thing where she went over to his house and kind of had to go home. to her abusive father again. He was very worried about her. He doesn't know for sure that it's her father. She's completely lying and hiding that from him, and ends up, like, she does get attacked by her dad again. You know, she's got more fresh bruises on her when she goes back to school. He's trying to figure out who's hurting her, and she won't tell him. And, like, there happens to be a time where she's gonna be walking home, and he offers her a ride again, even though he just went to Gypsy and was like, you need to help me stay away from her. I'm like her way more than I should. She's gonna ruin my focus. And I love Gypsy because he kind of just calls him on his shit. Like, Gypsy is one of my favorite characters in this book. I'm dying for Gypsy and Claire's romance. And I heard that's not even out yet. So I can't imagine. I thought they would be like the next romance. But I love him. He basically calls him on his shit and tells him, like, the age thing isn't even a big deal. She's actually 16 now. You're 17. The age thing isn't anything. You're just making excuses. And Johnny's just afraid that if he gets focused on a girl, that his career, like his rugby, everything's going to go downhill for him. So he's got a lot of pressure on himself. He ends up giving her a ride, but his car is in the shop. So his mom picks him up. And so the mom meets Shannon, wants to take her to their house to hang out and have tea and whatever. And then she gets, like, her clothes were soaked from the rain. So the mom has her take a shower and warms up her clothes again. So she's taking another shower at Johnny's house. And this is, like, kind of hilarious because she ends up coming out, sees him, like, changing. He catches her checking him out. Then when she's changing, she, like, is cuddling with the dog in her towel. And he ends up coming in, and the dog had, like, jumped on her and stuff, and she was completely flashing him in her towel. And then she actually kisses him in the room when she's only in her towel, and he doesn't respond. He doesn't kiss her back. She feels so embarrassed and, like, ashamed because she feels like she threw herself at him and he wasn't interested. And so then he has to have, like, the whole talk with her about how, like, he's leaving in the summer and he can't focus. He has to focus on his rugby. And so she feels completely, like, rejected, and it's just so sad. So then she goes back home to her abusive father again, and, like, he had given her his jacket to wear because of the, you know, it was raining and stuff. And, like, when she goes to school, she ends up having her first period because even though she's 16, they thought something was wrong with her because she didn't have periods yet and all this stuff. So she was really late with that. So she starts leaking at school, which every woman knows how that is, especially at a teenage level. And it's just horrendous when that happens to you. And so she's in a lot of pain with her cramps, was, like, kind of crying, getting overwhelmed in the bathroom because she didn't have anything. And lo and behold, she comes out, and it's this stupid bitch that's been obsessed with Johnny and thinks that he belongs to her. And she's, like, literally screwing another rugby member. And she full on, like, threatens Shannon. And you have to remember that Shannon has been badly bullied from the girls at her previous school. So now she has this stupid bitch getting up in her face, threatening her, telling her that she's really a nobody and Johnny's just being nice to her because her mom had threatened to get him in trouble and all this stuff. So Shannon, like, leaves emotional and runs into Gypsy. He tries to figure out what's going on, and then Johnny's there. And, like, of course, the girl, the stupid bitch, sees her, like, with Johnny, and then she literally calls her, like, a slut and, like, is calling her names, and Johnny loses it and goes and confronts her. And so now he's giving her another ride home. And it's just insane because he keeps telling himself to stay away from her, but he keeps giving her rides home and talking to her. He literally took her to the movies at one point, and that's, like, Gypsy's like, you've taken her out, you've given her 2 rides, you've taken her out to eat, you've gone to the cinema together, like, give me a fucking break. You're into her, you're together. Like, stop being the no boyfriend dude. Anyways, I hate this stupid bitch, and you just tell she's gonna start drama. But I have to get back to work, so I will check in with you guys. I don't know, maybe when I finish it, probably. Hopefully I'll finish this today because I have been really lagging with this book. And it's not the book's fault, it's me. Okay, I'll check in with you guys in a bit. Hey guys, so I have finally finished Binding 13. I listened to the part 1 and part 2 of the audiobook, and it was really well done. I really enjoyed the audiobook. It was long because this book is long. But I'm so happy I listened to the second half because it really picked up the pace and was finally starting the romance between Johnny and Shannon. And there's so much more development between them. I was listening to it today at work, and the ending leaves off on a cliffhanger, and it was very emotional. I don't know if it's because I'm hormonal on my period right now, but I was getting really teary-eyed at work, and it was hitting me hard. So I do gotta say that with this book, as previously mentioned, Shannon does have an abusive father. He's alcoholic. He abuses her and her mother and her brother. Her poor brother, Joey, kind of has to like pick up the slack and take care of them. And he's always having to protect his sister and everything. So there is a lot of trigger warnings for abuse, domestic violence, you know, being abused by your parent. And it is on page in this book at the end. So just be aware of that. If it's triggering for you, it is really hard to read or to listen to, as I did. But a lot happens between Johnny and her, and Johnny is just so sweet. He's tried this whole book to basically fight his attraction, fight his obsession with her, and he just can't do it. He keeps like trying not to be with her, but then he'll want to give her rides home and all this kind of stuff. The main thing that's I'm just going to talk about is what ends up happening where she's going to the away game. She's kind of on the bus with Johnny. It ended up happening earlier than I guess they were expecting. I can't really remember because she was not prepared for the away game. And so she was freaking out because she was going to have to go, and her dad was going to be pissed and not be okay with that because they might have to stay the night if the game runs long and all this kind of stuff. So she was pretty stressed out. I did like this because it also had like Johnny explaining rugby to her because I know nothing about rugby, and it was just really cute the way they were connecting on the bus. Johnny ends up getting wounded or like really badly injured because he was never fully healed from that groin surgery he had, and so it kind of like breaks open or something, like, you know, and now the coach and everybody finds out that he was actually still not healed and he shouldn't have been playing like that, which Shannon happened to call him out on that and tell him that way back. So they have like a moment alone in the locker room together, and like he finally he shows it to her. She sees the injury, and like she kisses him, and he kind of like, and then she freaks out because, you know, the last time she kissed him, he basically didn't kiss her back and told her they couldn't be together. So she was like, I'm sorry, you know, you're injured and I'm throwing myself at you. So she tries to run away, and he like grabs her, and basically he's done fighting this, and they finally have like a great kiss, and they're making out, they're getting really into it. And then the coach walks in, and he's pissed because they're both underage, you know, from the school. And so he's like, I'm gonna tell her parents and your parents. And so she's freaking out because her dad is a fucking psycho, and he finds out he's already called her a whore. Like, he literally calls her the C word, and he thinks she's a whore even though she's never had sex because this guy is showing interest in her. He's a freaking bastard. But anyways, so he ends up having to go to the hospital and get surgery again. He had like an infection, and they kind of messed up on the original surgery. And so this is like the best scene, was like she goes with Gipsy and sneaks out to go to the hospital even though they weren't supposed to, from like the hotel that the students were staying at. And she he is like drugged, all morphined up, out of his mind. He's like saying funny stuff to his parents, talking about how now he's gonna have kids and how in love he is with Shannon, and how, where is Shannon, where's the river, she's my river. And like his parents are like, what the hell is he talking about? It was such a cute, funny little scene. And then when she gets there, he's like all over her and like telling her he loves her, and it was just so adorable. And he was like demanding to know like who's hurting you, please, you know, tell me, I need to fix it. And so she does tell him it's her father, and like he kind of passes out. So then when he wakes up, he's freaking out about rugby, and he's kind of addicted to her at first, which he feels really bad for, but he was freaking out waking up, thinking about that his whole career, his life's goal is like going down the drains. So he wants her to go get his dad, and so he could talk to his dad. And he finds out he's gonna have to do like a minimum of like 6 weeks. So now like it's up in the air like what he's gonna do, because he was supposed to go to the academy like in the summer. So he's very stressed out. And then he feels really bad about how he freaked out kind of with her. But she's gone. She had to get home because she's gonna be in a lot of trouble. And so she ends up getting home, and the first thing that happens is her dad lays into her. He was called by the school, and he basically beats the living shit out of her. And I mean so bad that she's bleeding. He's kicking her while she's on the ground. He's kicking her in the face. He's punching her in the face. He is beating the crap out of her. Her little brothers, who were like, I think one of them was like 11 or something, is like fighting, trying to stop the dad. She's trying to get him out to like go call Joey, get help. You know, she doesn't want her brother to get attacked by the father. And like, he's like telling him, to stop hurting his sister. It was just so freaking emotional. And so one of them gets away and goes and gets help. And so while she's getting beating the shit out of her, she's just begging him to stop. And like Joey shows up, the mom shows up, and Joey beats the living shit out of his dad now. And he's literally beating him, and the mom is trying to stop him from beating him. And this is like the most devastating part, because the mom is just letting this violence continue to all her kids. And it's just horrible. And Joey's like, you need to make a choice. You kick him out now, or these kids are coming with me and you will never see them again. And she's like freaking out, like, oh, he's bleeding. And he's like, look at your freaking daughter. She's bleeding. Like, and it was so sad because she basically chose the abusive, psycho, alcoholic father over her own children. And that was the end of the book. So very emotional, dealing with some heavy like topics, and it was heavy, but it was so good. Like, honestly, like this last half of the book really picked up the pace. It really brought a lot more to their relationship. Like, they're totally like in love with each other, and they're so sweet, but she is like such a horrible home life. And I can see why people love Joey so much, because he's like the next couple books, I think, after this next book of theirs. And like, I think like his is going to be really sad, because he's basically had to deal with the abuse and like take care of his siblings because his parents are freaking idiots. So I give this 5 stars. Honestly, it's like a 1 chili, maybe not even that, because there's no spice in this. They kiss like near the end of the book, where it's actually both of them kissing. So I absolutely loved it. I'm going to have to wait to read the second one, because I have a lot of stuff to do for this Monster Mash readathon and novellathon. But I am going to read the second one. I think it's Keeping 13 in October. So I am going to finish it. But absolutely loved it. I'm getting the hype for this, because even though not a lot happens in this book, it's so character driven, and you feel like these kids are older than how they would be. Like, they seem like they're in college, not high school. I'm just really enjoying it. I love Johnny's family. I love Gypsy. So there's all these great side characters too. So I will check back in on this vlog way later in the month when I finally get to Keeping 13. And hopefully that one will be just as good. All right, I'll see you on the next one. Hey everyone, so I am at work, I'm on my lunch break, and I have started Keeping 13. I'm not sure if I'm going to be doing this as a separate vlog because I already talked a long time about finding 13, so this may be a long vlog, but what else is new? So I am okay, so here's the deal. I am listening to Keeping 13, and it has two parts for the audiobook on AnyPlay. So I don't know if the other audiobooks, it might be two parts everywhere. But my point is, I don't really know how far I'm into the book because I'm reading two parts. So I'm about halfway through the audiobook, the first part. So I'm guessing maybe I'm like 25-30% through, I'm guessing. But this book is just hitting me so hard. I mean, we have this poor Shannon that just is going through hell. At the end of the last book, we did leave off in a cliffhanger because her dad was literally beating the ever-living shit out of her. And her mom wasn't doing anything to stop it. Her older brother, Joey, was like getting involved and fighting his dad. And he had basically said to the mom, like, this is it. You make a decision. You choose us or you choose him. And she's still like not doing anything or making a choice. And he was like basically like threatening her, like, I'm going to take the kids out of here and we're done with your ass. And so we kind of pick up just right at that moment. Joey's fighting his dad. He's kind of getting fought by his dad. He's asking the mom to step up. One of the most emotional parts was like Joey literally being like, if you don't do this, if you don't step up, you're no longer my mother. I will never come in. I will never help again. I will never come to your rescue when he throws you down the stairs or beats the shit out of you. You know, he's the one that's like literally had to have a job, I think, since he was like 12 or 13 to help pay for bills and food and take care of the kids. Like, he's been like the man of the house because this father does not work or contribute or do anything. So it's just fucking heartbreaking. And you have Shannon, who is literally like, something's wrong. She must have something internally wrong with her because she's like almost losing consciousness. And, you know, then you have the little brother that literally comes up with a knife and puts it to his father's throat and threatens him. So like one of the younger brothers was trying to stick up for her and like fight back, and like he had to do that too. So it was just, it's very heartbreaking. It's very sad. It's horrible. So like Shannon actually gets taken to the hospital by Joey. And she had, I can't remember what it was, but I think she had like a collapsed lung or something that they had to do something, to help her with that. And she was beaten very badly. And at meantime, you have Johnny, and he's stuck at the hospital from his injury from what happened to him in the last book. And he just knows something's wrong and he's freaking out and he can't get a hold of her. And so like, he remembers he was on drugs at the time, and she had kind of admitted that her father hurt her. And he was kind of having this memory of like hearing her say something about her father. And then all started to kind of click in place. And he knew that her father was the one that was abusing her. And he just knew something was wrong. So like he ended up calling the police because he was worried about her and couldn't reach her. And so it's just, it's a lot. So when she wakes up at the hospital, Darren is there, and he's her older brother who had basically left them because the father hated him because he was gay, and he's like a homophobic asshole. And so he is like, kind of has a good career, graduated college, he has a partner, and now he's stepping in and basically telling Shannon, we need to get our story straight. You need to figure out, like, we need to be there for mom. And Joey is infuriated. This was such an emotional scene because Joey is like, I don't care about that bitch. Like, and Joey is on drugs now at this point. So you kind of find out he had a drug problem and he'd been clean for like a year, I think because of Afa, I always say that name wrong, his girlfriend. So Joey's breaking my heart in this book, so I know his books are gonna like freaking kill me, because he has an addiction problem, because he was escaping and probably dealing with the pain of being abused so badly. And it's just, this book, you guys, it's so heavy and emotional, and I'm so invested in these freaking characters. It's amazing. Like, honestly, like, it's so character driven, and like, it just shows you don't need smut and spice and all of that to write a good book and write an engaging story and make me care about the characters, because there was literally like a kiss in the last book. Like, you don't need the spice, people. I've been going on this rant a lot lately about the smut and romance and how it's like overboard now. And this book just shows that like you don't have to have that. Anyways, side rant. I basically am loving this book. Johnny comes to her hospital and wants to see her. He makes his parents take him. And this is where I get really fucking pissed off, is like Shannon's mom basically goes off on him and like doesn't want him around her, and was like, she's like, oh, it's his fault, like cause the reason her dad beat her was because he found out that she was caught like making out with Johnny at the end of the book. And literally it was like a light make out, like it wasn't anything crazy, and he was calling her the C word and a whore and all that kind of stuff, and he was just beating the shit out of her. He would have beat the shit out of her for anything, basically. But her mom's like, it's like the whole, you know, abused woman kind of thing, which I get, and she's a victim too, but at some point you got to step up for your children, and so it just infuriates me. And then she literally blamed Johnny. She's like, well, he's the reason your dad got mad and like, you know, beat you. And Shannon's like, no, don't fucking do it. Like, you're not gonna blame Johnny. And she acts like Johnny is like this horrible kid. Like, his thing that he hit her in the head with, you know, the football or whatever it was, I can't remember, the rugby ball, like, was an accident. And he's only been supportive, and he's the only thing that makes Shannon happy. And so I was like, if this mom tries to come between them, I'm gonna be pissed. Then when she gets out of the hospital, Darren's like, no, you can't see him, like, blah, blah, blah. But Johnny will not be kept away from her, so he literally gets Gipsy to get him over there to see her. And he's like adamant, like in her brother's face, like, I'm not leaving till I see her. And she like literally runs through and hugs him, and he basically takes her with him, and they go to his house. Before this happens, Joey literally gets like dropped off like by another like drug guy, and he didn't have his phone or money, and he was like all into like under the influence of drugs. And so it's just, oh my God, Joey is killing me. So like they basically took Joey with them, and they stayed at Johnny's house. And just such swoon-worthy scenes between Shannon and Johnny, and they're just so in love and so perfect for each other. And he like basically tells her how much he loves her, and they kiss, and it's just so swoon-worthy and sweet, and I just love him so much. And it's so sad to see like them experience what a good mother is, which, you know, Johnny has an amazing family. And so like the mother's like cooking and like talking to Joey, and he's like kind of confused. And it's just sad because these poor kids grew up in such an abusive environment. So I better get back to work. I think I'm already going to be late. Yeah, I got to get back to work. I feel like I could talk about this book forever. I love it so much, and I'm really scared to read Joey's book because he's already like breaking my heart. So yeah, I have a feeling this book's gonna be another 5-star book. It's just so well done, and I love the audiobook. It's just very well done. But let me get back to work. Yay. And I will follow up with you guys probably once I finish this part 1 of the audiobook. Hey guys, so I am checking in. I have not been good. I'm so sorry about doing check-ins on this book because it's just been kind of busy at work, and by the time I'm I just haven't filmed or taken the time to do check-ins. I've been kind of sucked into it too and just want to keep going. But this book, so many emotions for this book. And I got to backtrack though before I tell you why it's hitting me so hard, to kind of go over all the stuff that's happened that I haven't updated you on. But just know that, like, yesterday I was cleaning the house. So I listened to it while I clean the house, and then I was listening until I was cooking dinner. And I'm like literally like making my Brussels sprouts, and I started bawling. I mean, like, heavy crying, heavy tears, ugly face. Oh my God, this book is next level emotional to me. These characters mean so much to me. And that like breaks your heart, and it's just so phenomenal. So like basically, it's not over yet, so I can't say for sure, but basically from what I'm seeing now from this book, it's freaking worth the hype, people. This is worth the hype. So before I go into what made me have that breakdown last night, I was going to check in after that, but let me just say I was tore up and I looked horrible, and I was just like, no, you guys don't need to suffer through that. So let's backtrack to, I don't even know where I left off in my last check-in, because I am now currently halfway through the second part of the audiobook. So I finished the first part, and then I'm halfway through the second part, because on AnyPlay they had these split up into two audiobooks for each of these books, because they are long books. And I gotta say that the audiobooks are phenomenal. Like the accents, like it sucks you in. Like, I love it. So I'm probably not gonna cover as much as I normally would, because I didn't check in with you guys enough. But I'll backtrack enough to say that Johnny and Shannon are together. They're fully boyfriend and girlfriend. Their interactions are just so sweet, and like Johnny is so loving and supportive and there for Shannon. He wants to support her through everything that she's been through with, you know, her father and her family. Her mother is like trying to keep them apart, which I was like, fuck you, bitch. First off, her oldest brother that was out of the picture is like kind of just agreeing with the mom and trying to keep them apart, and like, oh, you can't come over and you can't go to school together, and like it's just such bullshit. But like he looks at his mom as the victim, and she is a victim, so there's no victim blaming here. But when you're trying to take the one good thing out of your daughter's life, I'm not having it, lady. I'm not having it. And these younger kids are so neglected. I mean, but you do see everything's on this mom. She's the one that has to work and provide for this whole family. The dad is like disappeared, which later they find out that like he checked himself into like a rehab. So now it's going to look like he's, cooperating. And so they're not even really going to arrest him. And so she's very scared. She's worried that he's like just going to show up, because he only has to go to like that program and then he's out on the streets. And so they're just very stressed out about that. But the thing is Johnny will not back down from this woman, and I love it. His mother wouldn't back down either. And when like Shannon's mom was like going off and like trying to say it's like statutory rape and all this stuff, Johnny's mom loses it and like goes lethal on her. And I love it. Like, I love Johnny's parents so much. Like, they're such a found family for Shannon and also for Joey, because at the point where he was like throwing up and like all drugged up and stuff, like he stayed the night at Johnny's, and like the mother kind of helped take care of him at one point. And it was just, I just gotta say, Joey, he breaks my heart. And okay, I'm not gonna get emotional yet. We're not even to that part, but I just love him. So that's kind of been going on. And then we eventually finally get to the point where they have sex. So it's very cute because they're dating. They're fully boyfriend and girlfriend at school. He's never had a girlfriend. He always just kind of used that other mean girl for like sex. But he was very clear about it. Like, I don't want anything from you. I don't want a relationship from you. And she's been kind of like stalking him forever and won't leave him alone. So this is our like resident mean girl that's being a bitch to Shannon because Shannon got the guy and she didn't. And so that's something that's going to come into play. But they're very like making out, hanging out at lunch. Like, it's just so cute. And they like go out on a date out to like the movies and stuff. And I just love Gibsy and I think Claire. They're just so cute. I can't wait for their book. And I can't believe their book hasn't come out yet because like this is an older book too. And I'm just getting into it. So I'm glad I won't have to wait as long as everybody else has. But so they finally have sex and it was so cute and sweet and realistic too of a first time. But what was hilarious was the mom walked in, like caught them, and like Shannon was like hiding on the side of the bed. He had to like rip the condom off and throw it across the room. And of course she doesn't fall for it. She catches them and like proceeds to give her like Shannon the talk about the birds and the bees. So it's just funny. But they are so cute together. They truly feel like soulmates. Like, they just love each other so much. Johnny's doing a lot better. Now he's able to practice again, and he got the call about, you know, him going to go do this for his country and everything. And so now he's kind of worried because he doesn't want to leave Shannon for the summer. He's really worried about her safety, about her being alone, like being in that home. And he's just stressed out because he's finally getting everything he ever wanted. But now he loves Shannon and he doesn't want to leave her in that environment. So we get to this whole blowout at school. And that is when Shannon goes to the bathroom and basically gets attacked by the mean girl. She like tries to fight back for once, which was just so I'm so proud of her because Shannon has had extreme bullying in her past where she would just shut down and get bullied and, you know, throw up from stress. And she kind of heard her brother's Joey's voice in her head saying, fight back, like fight back. So she's trying to fight back, but there's two other girls. One girl was like, I don't want anything to do with this, and like left. And the other girl didn't want to do it, but basically caved to peer pressure and was like holding her down. And she like, the mean girl basically poured like her lunch and tuna like on her and poured water all over her. And so she was just traumatized and calls Joey to come get her. Joey gets there and he loses his shit before he even finds her. He just assumes that, you know, Johnny did something and like punches Johnny, and Johnny's like, what the fuck, dude? And he doesn't even know what's going on. And so Joey finds out, you know, Shannon comes out and we find out that it's the girl that bullied her, and Johnny loses it. Joey's losing it. Joey's girlfriend is there, Afa, and she like basically socks the mean girl because she starts talking shit about Joey, and it just all hell breaks loose. And so the principal's out there. He's finding out about this bullying. This girl had taken pictures of her too of what she did. And so it was just really bad. And Joey gets like arrested and he gets Aphid out of there. He like has her leave so that she's not, you know, gonna get arrested or anything. But after that, like Shannon was supposed to go over for dinner, like a special dinner at Johnny's house, but she couldn't. So, but when she goes home, she's basically waiting for Johnny to get out because, Joey. Johnny's dad is a lawyer and he actually helps Tootsie. Sorry, my cat was making a lot of scratching noises in the background. So Johnny's dad is a lawyer and he basically tells her, I will get Joey out by 10 o'clock tonight. Don't worry. Joey actually goes home to, you know, Johnny's parents and gets kind of help, and he leaves. He doesn't end up showing a while till like late at night, and he's drunk. and he comes in, or drunk, or probably on drugs. And this is where it just really got to me. Joey is wasted, and he comes home and kind of gets into it, and he's just so done. Like, he's done. He doesn't want to live there anymore. He's going to be kicked out of his school now. He has no future. And he basically is like, I can't live like this anymore. The things that he says to the mother, it was just so emotional. And I lost it because Joey is just such a troubled kid. He's been having this family, like the weight of it on his shoulders since he was like 12 years old. And he like kind of blames the mom. He's like, he wrecked me, like he physically abused me, their dad, but you wrecked me. You ruined me, like mentally. You fucked me. Every time, like, he's like, I can't close my eyes without hearing you scream for your life, or asking me to save you, or asking me to help you. And he's just such a damaged soul, and your heart just breaks for him because he can't do it anymore. He can't take it. He can't live there. And he basically like starts packing up and leaving. And then like they were saying like, oh, about him turning into his dad because his dad's an addict. And like, but when he goes off on his mom, like she totally like smacks him a couple times, and he's like, I turn into him, you know, like, and so he basically packs up and leaves. And it was so devastating because Aoife shows up, and she's like trying to get through to him, and he's basically telling her he has nothing to offer her and that they can't be together, and he's leaving. And she's just like crumples to the ground when he leaves and is like bawling. I'm just, oh my God. Joey freaking kills me. And it's just so sad. Like, I can't believe this book brought out so many emotions. It makes you feel so much for these characters. I mean, Joey is a side character, but he's like one of the most important characters in this book. And to see what he's had to put up with, taking care of his family, having a job at a young age, protecting his mother from getting beat. There's like flashbacks of him like at a young age going down there and like fighting his dad to stop him from like raping and beating their mother. And it's very emotional. And you kind of find out during this that like before this that Johnny's parents used to foster a kid, and that they had been planning and secretly trying to make sure they get their ducks in a row to basically be foster parents to this family. Because Johnny at one point, way back, sorry, I didn't bring this up, he had been at her house to like see if she was there, and she wasn't. But he saw like one of the youngest ones peeking out the window. And they weren't being watched by the mother at all. And they were just all there hungry. And he just took them and like took them to McDonald's, got them a couple McDonald's meals. And then he ends up taking him home to his parents because he's like, I don't know what to do. Like, this mother's going to lose it on me. I basically kidnapped these kids. And so the mother had seen these kids, and it was just like, and she didn't want to send them back. And her heart was just so like invested. And that's why I just love Johnny's parents. So after Joey leaves, Shannon just loses it because he's like her support system in that home. And, you know, his younger siblings were crying because they're like, you promised you wouldn't leave. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm going to freaking cry in this video. It's like I'm trying so hard not to. And she's out there bawling, and then who shows up? Her dad. And he's fucking wasted, and he's being really calm and talking really like creepy and saying he won't do anything to her, but she needs to go up and go to bed. And so she freaks out, and she hauls ass into her room, locks the door. the other kids are in their beds too, and he like comes to her door and is like, you better stay in bed, stay asleep, and all that. And she's very scared, and she calls Johnny, and Johnny rushes over there because she's so scared, and she's not hearing her parents screaming like they usually would. And so she knows something's wrong, like it's off. And she climbs out the window and kind of jumps down to Johnny. But now her siblings are stuck in there, and the door's like locked by like key, and so they can't get out. So Johnny climbs up to her bedroom and sneaks through the house to get these younger siblings out of that house. And they're like literally attached to his body as he's trying to get to the front door to get like the key out of her jacket and sneak out. But the kitchen is within viewpoint, and he can hear the mother and father talking. And it sounds very bad, like almost like the father wants to like kill himself and kill her maybe. I don't know. He's like keeps saying that the kids, oh, it's better if they're not awake for this, you know? And the mom sees Johnny, who she's hated this whole time. And she looks at him and like makes a coughing noise to cover for him opening the door. And she's like basically telling him like, go get my kids out of here. And so Johnny basically gets the kids and he gets out of the house. And that's where I'm at right now, because honestly, emotionally, I had to stop because I was bawling my freaking eyes out. The main thing that made me cry so hard is Joey and his struggle and his addiction and just what he's been through. And like Johnny's mom wants to take him in, but he's like over 18, but she wants to foster him because she's like, he needs us. And if anybody needs their help, it's Joey. Like, and it just, oh my God. So I am so nervous and scared about how much I'm going to be a wreck when I read Joey's stories, because those are the next two books is Joey's book. So I'm just, oh my God, this book is so emotional. And I got to go on a rant here about how good and how amazing these books are. And it shows that you don't need smut to make a good romance. Like, their connection is so beautiful and you feel it and you love them, and they haven't had sex this whole time. They've had like one sex scene, you know, like, and it's like, you don't need it because the writing is there, the development, it's like so character driven that this is what needs to happen again with romance, because now we're so involved with smut and book talk and, you know, the dirty talk and having all these like little things. You don't need it to have a beautiful romance. And I think this book just shows that that is so true, and this is what we need, like, because I'm so emotionally invested in these characters that when they did finally have sex, I was like, just love them coming together. It was about them coming together. It wasn't about the sex or getting off. Like, they love each other. Anyways, I have talked so long in this video. I'm so sorry in this clip. I'm blown away. I'm pretty sure that this is going to be a 6-star read for me. And I got to buy these books. But they're coming out with different covers, so I don't want to buy the old covers and then have the later covers that they don't match. So I don't know what I'm going to do. But thank you guys for watching this. Sorry, I am tearing up and getting emotional here, but these books are so worth the hype, and I would highly recommend if you haven't read them yet. All right, so I'm going to finish the book and then I will follow up with you. All right, see you in a bit. Hey guys, so I am here with my final check-in for Keeping 13, and it was amazing. I continued to listen to it last night before I went to bed. I didn't finish it, so I finished it at work today. And luckily I listened to some of it while I was at home because I was crying again. I mean, this book just totally wrecked me. It's one of the best books I've read this year. I'm blown away how emotional and like invested in these characters I am. Like, each of these side characters, I mean, obviously Johnny and Shannon, they just mean so much to you. And I don't know. It's just such a really well done, character driven story. I'm so impressed. It's definitely worth the hype. And I'm just really, I love it. So just to kind of sum things up, we had that whole interaction at the school, Joey getting arrested, him getting out, coming home, having an interaction with his mom where I started bawling, and him leaving the family, and then the dad showing up. She calls Johnny, and Johnny hauls ass over there, and she basically climbs through the window and like tries to climb down to him, and he's like, no, that's too dangerous, don't do that. But the front door was like locked with the key, and she was scared to go downstairs. And so she like ends up kind of jumping down to him. He climbs up the window to try and get her little brothers out of the house. And it's just not going to work with him jumping down the window, like from her upstairs room. So he literally sneaks these kids out to the front door, gets the key out of her jacket. And like the mom and the dad are kind of arguing in the kitchen. But really like the dad is like, it's best if they sleep through this. And she's begging him not to do this. And it kind of made me feel like, okay, this is like a murder-suicide thing going on here. And she sees Johnny. And even though she didn't like Johnny this whole time, which was misplaced, it's her hatred, her feelings towards her, husband. She sees Johnny trying to get her kids out, and she kind of coughs to cover the sounds of him getting the key in and opening the door. And she ends up like going to like shut the door in the kitchen, distracting the father. And she tells him to get her kids out of there and to leave. And he was like, I'll come back for you. And she's like, don't come back for me. Just save my kids and tell them I'm sorry. And oh my God, it was so emotional. And so he ends up getting the kids out of there, getting home to kind of tell his parents about it. They're going to get the police involved so he doesn't, go back to that situation. But what ends up happening is when he ended up getting one of the little brothers, he was covered in alcohol. And it turns out the father had done that. And he basically like set the place on fire and killed the mother. And he was in there as well. So he had planned on killing the entire family. So Johnny basically saved Shannon and her siblings' lives. Joey wasn't there, obviously. And then Darren had actually gone off to go find Joey. So luckily, none of these kids died. And so that was really hard on Johnny because he felt really guilty about leaving the mother. But he saved them. And, his parents end up basically fostering the rest of the family and taking them in. And so it's really hard for Shannon. They have the funeral. She feels horrible about like being angry at her mom, but like loving her mom, but also like having those conflicting feelings. So it's just it's just a lot going on, And it felt very real, like real feelings that you would have. And so they're pretty solid. They love each other. They're together, but now he's basically going to have to go off for the summer for rugby, and he ends up going for the summer, and they communicate. Everything's going well. He's basically a star. They wanted to sign him on for like 2 years, but he ends up deciding not to do it. He's going to stay the last year with Shannon, and keep training and everything, and then go into it because he wanted that extra year together. And so he's very happy that they did that, and they're just so solid. They love each other so much. Joey went to like a rehab, and so, Joey was devastated, and Joey gets me, okay? He gets to me. He makes me cry, and he was like devastated. I'm literally going to cry again. Joey's book is going to kill me. Like, I just know it. But he was devastated when he finds out. He gets back to the house. The house is on fire, and he thinks his siblings died in there. And he's like, I was supposed to protect them. And he was like, I was supposed to protect her, his mother. because that was always on him. He was always had so much pressure on his shoulders. And so he was very in like a really bad place after this. And he had to detox, you know, he had like major, you know, withdrawals and everything. So it was just emotional. I can't explain this book. Like, it's so amazing. And I just know I'm gonna be fucking wrecked with Joey's book. Or 2 books. So I do plan on reading that next month. You know, so I have no idea when I'm gonna get this vlog up. Honestly, like, I don't know if I need to split this vlog into 2 different things because I've talked so long about both these books. So it's probably going to be a freaking long ass vlog. But in conclusion, I gave this 6 stars. It's amazing. It's really not much on the chili, like maybe 1 chili. It doesn't need it. It doesn't need the spice. And I think this book should show all these other book talk and whatever that you don't have to have spice to make a phenomenal book. Like, honestly, there's too much space sometimes. So I'm just blown away. It's definitely worth the hype. If you have not read this, I recommend it. I probably gave you all the spoilers and ruined it for you, but honestly, it's freaking amazing. All right. Thank you so much for watching this. If you made it to the end of this, I love you. I appreciate you because I know this is going to be a long vlog. But as always, please remember to like and subscribe. Leave me a comment down below if you've read these books or if you're planning on reading them. They're just amazing, and I'm late to the party, but I'm so glad I picked it up and didn't keep being intimidated by the size or the hype. All right. Thanks, you guys. I will see you on the next one.